proactive elsewhere on the map.
Right, I mean, let's say you get really good vision control on the bot side, your Cassiopeia is pressure mid, why don't you go make a 3-man roam up to the top side and try and aggressively attack that Shen? There's a lot of plays that they could have looked to make there, but it seemed like they were pretty content to just kind of get vision control and then scrap in the mid skirmishes, which obviously came back to bite them in that game. Gonna see what kind of adjustments they can make heading into game 2 here.
Yeah, champion select for game number 2 is underway, and it looks like that once again the Malzahar and LeBlanc will be taken away from either team over here. Big Gods Jackals do not want LeBlanc to fall into the hands of eUnited's Fox, although we'll have to see if they do make an adaptation for banning out the Rise as well. They had the answer in the Cassiopeia in the mid lane matchup, but didn't necessarily seem to get the advantages they wanted to during lane phase.
I mean, for the most part, I did like Big Gods Jackals draft. They just need to find a way to actually convert that into some tangible advantages in the early game. We saw that they have like a 500-600 gold lead just off the back of CSing. That's great, but at some point you need to start either grabbing objectives or kills, and they struggle to do either. eUnited still banning the Varus on the blue side. Looks like they're basically saying we don't really want to play this. You talk about how definitely that's the only utility to carry is lost on, so no surprise to see that one banned away. It looks like they're going to prioritize something else with their first pick in this draft.
It does look like that the Graves is being banned away as well from the side of Big Gods Jackals, so maybe it's just not us that wasn't exactly feeling the Graves that game, and it may have just been a counter pick away when they had first pick blue side.
And I like this. They banned the Shen here, which forces the Rise ban, otherwise they first pick that, and now they're probably going to grab the Rengar first, something that they banned over on the red side. There the pick is. Yeah, so I did like that. It's a little surprising, be like, oh, they did so well on Shen. Why would they ban out this champion that they did well on? Well, you only have one pick in the first rotation on blue side, so they end up going with the Rengar, which was one of the other picks left open. Now Big God Jackals is going to have to answer with something, but a lot of the power picks are off the table.
That's right, although we'll have to see if Big Gods Jackals continues to attack the AD carry pool. They did wind up banning away, the Varus was banned away, Jhin was left relatively untouched. Or sorry, Jhin was banned in the second phase, as was the Caitlyn, so that kind of put definitely down onto the Ezreal, but as we saw already, the Ezreal and the Soraka lane pretty much just went even, stayed toe-and-toe with Fabi and Bayana in the bottom lane, and then eUnited was just pretty confident playing everywhere else on the map.
Right, and I think you can potentially play around that bot lane a little more. We didn't see any aggressive flash karma tethers onto Soraka or anything like that. You sometimes see plays like that. Instead, they are going to grab that karma once again, but they're grabbing the Rumble extremely early on this time. We talked about how this is one of the champions that RF Legendary did have a very good game on when he came back in after getting subbed out for Chris. Looks like they're going to give him another chance on that one, and it is going to be interesting to see what eUnited grabs here. A lot of people talk about Renekton being a great pick into that. We have not seen that out of Licorice yet. We don't know if that's in his champ pool.
No, Licorice definitely kind of being the go-to tank master in the top lane. All of his carry picks are the ones he's lost on, which has only been Jace and Kennen so far.
Right, and so a lot of people lose with the Jace top lane, so it's not too surprising to see that, but Renekton does, like I was saying in the last game, fulfill that, you know, he's a bruiser, so he's somewhere between a carry and a tank. He's able to play extremely aggressive throughout the early game, can make his own kind of individual plays and bully people harder than traditional tanks can, but you're still going to be a frontliner. Need to see if eUnited can actually play that. They grab the Ezreal once again to start things off, and they're going to grab the Soraka as well. Don't want that one banned away, and instead, looking like Licorice could get his champ pool picked here as we're going to head into the second round of the draft in a second here after we see what Big God Jackals finishes the first round with.
Well, eUnited going with the tried and true of the bottom lane. Like we said, if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it in the bottom side of the map. So they're going to wind up picking up the Ezreal and the Soraka again. And it looks like that they may be trying to get something a little bit more priority for Wiggly. The Kha'Zix is being hovered right now. The Elise was something that he wound up going back to in week number 5. But it does look like it's going to be a different sort of insect in the jungle. I guess technically Elise is an arachnid. I don't want to get my
I mean, I'm glad. Yeah, I was about to have a big issue with you, mister. No, I think I like the Kha'Zix a little bit more here just because you already have some magic damage locked in with the Rumble. If you go with the Elise as well and then you want a magic damage mid laner, you end up very, very magic damage heavy. You haven't seen what eUnited's going to prioritize. You don't want to go too much on one damage type, where then you see Rengar going tank Rengar instead of assassin Rengar. They also have some kind of Maokai with 3 MR items, something crazy like that. So I do like the Kha'Zix a little bit more here. Big God Jackals banning away the Camille. We saw that matchup yesterday between Quas and Solo. Went heavily in Quas's favor after he was able to get a couple ganks. Seems like Camille can snowball that one when she gets a little bit of a lead.
Now, according to what we heard from Solo, we were casting a 4v4, and the Rumble and the Camille was in a completely different game entirely.
Yeah, they were playing some you know, all-stars kind of 1v1 matchup.
Well, Camille, I think, might have come out ahead in that one, as the Camille picked up multiple kills, picked up multiple towers, but it will not be available in this game. The Ashe also being banned away, so now this time around it's eUnited saying, hey, we're okay with going with the Ezreal pickup. We have our Soraka to keep ourselves stable on the bottom side of the map. What are you going to do if the Varus, the Ashe, and potentially the Jhin get banned away from Fabi?
Yeah, we'll have to see what they end up going with. A lot of people have started playing Caitlyn a little bit more. But we haven't seen that out of Fabi, I don't think, recently. He does have a pretty good Jhin, so there's a chance he still gets that one. We see the Cassiopeia ban coming in as well. Not a great performance, I'd say, out of PeakNWolf on it. He was doing fine in the early game, then kind of got messed up as soon as he started getting a little bit more pressure. So gonna see him on a new champion this time around. Mid laners have not been taken yet. See what Big God Jackal prioritize first. Most likely gonna be that AD carry pick with their first pick here.
Well, there was the Orianna ban from eUnited last game. This time around, it's kind of the opposite spectrum. They're going to be going with the Cassio ban, and the Sivir does wind up getting locked in. So this is Big Gods Jackals. Got a lot of movement speed on their side. You get the Karma, you get the Sivir speed up. You have a lot of champions that do kind of want to wind up running towards people, but not a lot of tankiness on their side.
Yeah, I mean, they do have that kind of gotta go fast comp, but they don't have someone who's going to start that off. That's one of the most annoying things when you get these often referred to as like ball comps, where you have a big front liner with a ton of speed running right at you. It's super hard to peel him off, and then he sets his team up to be able to finish off a single target, most often being a Maokai or something like that. So far, Big God Jackal doesn't have anything like that to frontline for them. eUnited go with the Ahri blind pick, something that we've been seeing a little bit more play all over the world, and then the Renekton pick like we were talking about. We were wondering if Licorice can play it. We're going to get to see that this game.
No, looks like Licorice does play the Renekton. So
he can at least lock it in.
Can
he play it is the question.
That's going to be a big question mark here. Although, as I mentioned earlier, Orianna was banned last time. They took the Cassiopeia. This time the Cassiopeia is banned. The Orianna being one of those pickups left open. They take the Ahri, which is generally a good matchup, but it's going to be a Taliyah being locked in for Big Gods Jackals, and it's been a hot minute since we've seen this one.
Have not seen Taliyah too long. A lot of people still maintain that Taliyah is not that bad and a fine pick to go for. It looked like with the Cassiopeia ban, like you were saying, and the fact that we know PeakNWolf does have a good Orianna, they were blinding the Ahri, trying to force him onto that, which is a good matchup for the Ahri. Big God Jackals not electing to go for that one, ends up going with the Taliyah, and this is an interesting matchup where Taliyah doesn't want to deal with Ahri at all, just wants to push in the wave and go roam and do something else. Ahri, obviously, with that mobility, has the ability to pick off Taliyah, but you still have to be careful about the E that Taliyah throws down and bumping into those. So it's a very skill-intensive matchup.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to watch. It's not something we generally see all too often, but that does also mean that the Taliyah going to be something that thrives on great teamfight positioning. Of course, the ability to roam down to other lanes. Now you have Fabi on the Sivir. He's kind of going to be the go button, but in a different capacity. It's not hard CC. It's a different type of go button for this composition. We'll see if Big Gods Jackals adjust their game plan, though, because Sivir isn't necessarily the most lane-dominant AD carry either.
No, it definitely looks like Big God Jackals have lost a little bit of lane priority in this draft, but they did make it up with a lot more playmaking. Taliyah is going to be able to roam up into that top side, maybe try and stem some of that pressure that Renekton tends to have in that top lane matchup. Can also go down to bot lane, cut off the Soraka. Sure, Ezreal can hop that wall, but Soraka is not known for her escapes necessarily. So, assuming PeakNWolf can get some pressure in the mid lane, get the push going for him, he should be able to start influencing the side lanes at 6. Big God Jackal is going to try and snowball this one a little bit more.
Well, Soraka wasn't known for her roams either. Aggressive roams, to put it in perspective. But Zeyzal showed us that he was able to utilize the champion to do just exactly that in the previous matchup. We'll have to see if anything is going to go similarly or different in this game here. As now the mid lane matchup, as you mentioned, going to be a little bit more interesting for us. I really like seeing the Ahri play because it's a more aggressive kind of pick. It's very lane dominant. It, of course, has the ability to not only roam around the map, but use that mobility to outplay people in the mid lane matchup. And that was something that Big Gods Jackals, we even just heard from Fabi already. When Fox plays aggressive, you never know if the jungler's there or not, and it's something that PeakNWolf often struggles to deal with. Yeah,
Ahri's definitely a fan favorite to watch because when she's played well, it looks amazing. It's beautiful play, and then when you don't play it well, it's often a spectacular fail where you go flashing in without your charm. It misses wide, your Q misses, and Ahri's very skill shot dependent. So when you look good on Ahri, you look great. When you look bad, you look terrible.
I see you've gotten your example from watching my mid lane Ahri play.
I don't watch you play, Tom.
Come
on, man. I'm not going to sit behind you at work and just say, oh, yeah, show me your Ahri.
I'd be really surprised, actually, if you did do that, because normally I have to let you in.
Yeah, that's true.
But we'll have to leave it to the pros in this matchup here. It is already a 1-0 lead for eUnited in this best-of-5 series against Big Gods Jackals. We've already kind of heard from the members of eUnited that they have kind of set their sights on the promotion tournament, not exactly taking this game for granted. However, they do already have focus. That we heard from Gilius saying, like, hey, I've done this before when I was on Unicorns of Love. I'm looking to do it again. I think we can do it. Fox has also done it himself, playing throughout the promotion tournament, and of course, playing with SK Gaming and Schalke with Gilius on his side in the EU LCS. The other side, though, of Big Gods Jackals has some LCS experience in and of themselves. More importantly, PeakNWolf himself has actually gotten through the Challenger Promotion Tournament.
Right, and I think if this game blows open in one place, it will be due to PeakNWolf. He's going to be under a lot of pressure at 6 from both the Ahri and the Rengar, and that's why he doesn't want to be mid lane at all. He wants to use the ultimate to go influence side lane. So if he's playing well, able to get the shove, not dying, and influencing side lanes, avoiding the Rengar Ahri, then obviously he's going to be the man to watch. And then if things are going bad, he's going to be the man to watch because Ahri and Rengar are probably going to be teeing off on him.
Yeah, so we'll see if that mid lane becomes as equally focused as before. As you mentioned already, that the Sivir, not the most lane dominant AD carry, taking a lot of damage from Deftly and Zeyzal here in this level 1 trade. Zeyzal already taking the Q at level 1, getting a decent amount of damage onto Fabi, not having the spell shield yet available, and eUnited once again playing this lane matchup a little bit aggressively. It didn't favor them in game number 1, but it looks like to be going to break game 2. And more aggression in the mid lane here is Peekawoof and Fox. Well, we saw that out of them in game number 1.
A lot of early trading in the bot lane. That is kind of how the Ezreal Soraka needs to play the matchup. If they just go and look to push the creeps, obviously Sivir Karma will have the push advantage, so you need to trade and force them to back off the wave. Well played by Deftly and Zeyzal to do that. They are able to get the push advantage for the level 2, able to control that lane a little bit more. Ezreal and Karma both benefit a lot from having the push in their favor, so the enemy can't hide behind creeps as easily, and so it's very nice for the Ezreal to come out ahead so far in this matchup for him. And it's also going to give him a little bit more pressure on the bot side. We see already Gilius going for an early invade, starting up onto that blue buff, and Soraka is in range to potentially help out if he needs it.
A little bit more early aggression from the junglers this time around, whereas Wiggly had gone for the full clear on the top side of his jungle and then gone back and picked up a longsword for himself. It is going to be Gilius with the smite steal on the blue buff, so that's going to be Gilius able to steal away his opponent's buff and still has his own red available, potentially going to 3-buff Wiggly. Yeah,
nice early start for Gilius on the bot side there. Gets that buff, going to be able to get a little bit of an advantage in CS and experience. Drops back onto his red now. That's one of the risks of going for the clear that Kha'Zix went for. Clearing up his entire topside jungle does put you roughly a camp behind. We see Gilius did not clear his Gromp, obviously. That gives him enough time to go over and get that blue buff. Did have the Soraka there to support him. Biano was moving over as well. Wiggly could have potentially looked to get a little more aggressive trying to get that one back, but just watches it go away.
Of course, Biano has to be a little bit scared if he leaves Fabi by himself in that bot lane, considering they were already very aggressively shoved in that early level 1 trade scenario. And Gilius kind of went with the same jungle pattern we saw him do in game number 1, and it was actually Wiggly that changed it up by going for that full clear on the top side of the jungle. We saw both of them kind of mirroring each other's paths and running into each other when they were going and putting that first early ward down. This time around, Gilius realizes that the buff is still available. He's able to steal away from him, so adaptations from Wiggly not necessarily paying off, and Gilius sticking to relatively the same jungle pattern does benefit from doing so.
Right, now we see trading get a little bit more equal. Peekawoof and Wiggly were looking around mid lane, hoping to catch out Fox there as they back away, decide it's not going to work out. Ahri, an extremely safe pick if you want to play it that way, is able to kind of just wave clear and hopefully back off of any pressure, and especially once you get 6, you get that extra mobility to start dashing away from the threat to the enemy jungle mid.
Yeah, and speaking of that jungle mid synergy, last game in and of itself, Gilius making his presence known a lot more in that mid lane matchup. Had a 36% mid lane jungle proximity compared to the 25% of Peekawoof and Wiggly. That's a large percentage there. Normally that usually equates to about like a minute and a couple of seconds, which is like 2 full extra minion waves worth of time. And we talked about this mid jungle synergy being a very, very key importance to this entire series. It won eUnited the game in 25 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the camp that came in for Gilius was nice in helping stabilize the lane for Fox, and then once they were able to start turning kills, they blew that game wide open. They took 2 mid lane turrets off their first play, essentially, and then as soon as they got into the 1-3-1, they grabbed that Baron. eUnited showing some of that decisiveness that we were hoping to see out of Gold Coin United, looking at least like the more aggressive of the United.
Looking like the more United. Just in terms of their overall synergy.
I like that one. That was good.
The United.
The United.
All right.
More United.
Still get a couple of them on you. Although this bottom lane trade now going against eUnited, they figure, hey, the Soraka can heal up the Ezreal. We're going to target her down. We did see both Fabi and Biano taking a bit of trade damage themselves, but not wanting to be pushed in as much by this matchup. Gilius is going to make his way down here. It's not quite level 6 yet, but Fabi has to burn the flash away just from the 2v2 scenario. Biano's going to have to flash away from the Gilius flash as well. The heal came out from Fabi as well. So a lot of summoner spells traded in that bottom lane.
Right, we saw a big potion advantage for eUnited. They can trade as aggressively as they want to. Soraka able to heal up, and the fact that their jungler was down there as well, they can play and trade as aggressively as they need to. They're able to get every summoner out but the exhaust out of Biano. And this is kind of what we're talking about, where we said you need to play aggressively and get those kind of defensive summoners out initially so that your next gank attempt or whatever will work. So we see the fact that you know, just that small roam down by Gilius and the aggressive trading from his bot lane gets him a big advantage there. And now they have to be really nervous about this kind of repeat gank that might come in for the Rengar when you hit 6, and potentially even a roam from the Ahri.
Yeah, and if eUnited is going to be the more united of the united teams, then we're going to have to see some early Rengar ultimates from Gilius, as Santorum was a little lackadaisical with them in the matchup yesterday as they took down Tempo Storm in their own 3-0 series. But eUnited in general has definitely been a bit more of a proactive team. The only interesting fact now is Licorice being put onto this Renekton pickup. It may be something that's a little bit more lane dominant against the Rumble pickup, but RF Legendary, this has kind of been one of his go-to successful champions, whether it be in solo queue, whether it be in the Challenger Series in general, but he's actually going toe-to-toe against Licorice, and without that overall global pressure, like from a Shen or the tankiness that you're going to have in some of these later game fights, this might be an important lane for Big Gods Jackals to actually be going even or ahead in.
Right, I mean, this is actually a nice showing out of RF Legendary so far. They're next and generally favored in this matchup. Down a little bit CS, but not bad at all. Been farming well. We see Fox try and open up on Speaking Wolf. Misses the charm, but still going
the aggression. That means that Gilius must be nearby, but Bayano's there to kind of cut anybody off. The throw of the hunt is in there. Picking was going to get jumped on, but Wiggly's also here. But everybody's coming in from the bottom lane for eUnited. They are going to wind up just forcing back Big Gods Jackals.
Yeah, they're able to force them away, but that's all they really needed to do. They might look onto this Mountain Drake as the next objective.
Ooh, RF. Not going to wind up following that one up. Did have the Equalizer available, but decides he wants to save that one, potentially for a Dragon play going on the bottom side of the map. But getting advantage on the top side of the map while his team, unfortunately, was not able to turn that gank on the bottom side.
Yeah, it was difficult for them to get in range to stop that. They were down a lot of summoners on Bayano. He did have to blow his exhaust there as well. You see him open back up. Fox almost blowing up Pekin Wolf there. Not quite able to do so, trading flashes and summoners.
Yeah, so double summoner spells burn on both sides, and Fox, not exactly the healthiest, but does come out better in that trade. So continuing the overall aggression in that mid lane matchup, continuing to try to exert pressure on multiple sides of the map. And this time around, it's eUnited. Bot side, mid side, getting advantages in lane, but Big Gods Jackals hanging on the top side.
Right, and we see that we're talking about Pekin Wolf needing to get out of lane a little bit, start influencing the map. So far, he's been struggling a little bit to do so. We see them open up now a little bit onto the bot lane.
Yeah, Fabi popping the on the hunt. We do have Wiggly kind of coming in from the side, but eUnited is very quick to respond to that. As soon as the ultimate was used, they immediately started getting out of dodge.
Yeah, they had to flash though. They get that out of Zeyzal, potentially opening up a Talia roam would be a great way to punish that summoner. They're going to need to find a way to do so, as we see eUnited coming out a little bit ahead in the early game, about 500 through the farming advantages.
So eUnited this time around will be having the early lane phase advantages. Decent amount of CS has been built up in favor of the Renekton on the top side of the map, as the bottom side of the map is slightly in favor of Deathleaf for the time being. Pekin Wolf has gone and picked up his own blue buff, and they're starting to clear out some of this vision that eUnited put down in the river just a couple of minutes ago, potentially looking for that first big Talia roam. But one of the things that Fox has been doing by playing this aggressive has not been letting Talia shove him in, not letting all those stones being thrown and clearing out the minions as quickly as possible, and continuously forcing Pekin Wolf to stay in mid.
Right, I mean, that's a very important thing for Fox to do. Now that Talia does have her blue buff, it will be harder to do so. She can kind of Q spam a little bit more, though Fox and Gilius hovering around mid lane, no surprise. Going to be able to contest this 2v2 potentially.
Actually might be looking for it here. The throw of the hunt has been popped. The charm is not going to, actually does land on Wiggly as he tries to jump away. He's going to drop extremely low, and first blood picked up once again for Fox on the Fox. A double kill make that as the 2v2 goes over to eUnited.
An excellent charm by Fox there, pulls Wiggly back over the wall, and that sets up Gilius to follow up. They're able to blow him up. The stealth from Wiggly, keeping him safe a little bit from Fox for a moment, but then he goes down, and it's an easy chase and follow onto Pekin Wolf, who is still without that flash from that initial trading that was in favor of Fox.
So the patented mid lane jungle aggression from eUnited not only going to translate into 2 kills in the mid lane, but potentially that tower as well. Now Zeyzal kind of getting caught up a little bit in the bottom lane, does wind up having to burn the exhaust. The teleport comes from RF Legendary. Good equalizer, rips across the duo there from eUnited. They're going to wind up trading a kill down onto Zeyzal. Definitely going to make his way back up towards that mid lane, as he does have Fox and Gilius coming off of that first tower gold.
Yeah, definitely. And Zeyzal playing just slightly too aggressive there. They were down teleport advantage. They need to respect that and play a little bit safer in the lane, especially if they knew that ward was placed there behind them by Big God Jackals. It sets up way too easy of a teleport for RF Legendary. Good job landing that equalizer and able to answer back that mid lane aggression a little bit, but the turret still goes down, and eUnited grab a about 2,000 gold lead just from that.
Yeah, and this was the play that was made just a couple of seconds before that bottom lane. One is Fox looking like he just wants to clear out this world with help from Gilius, but as soon as the throw of the hunt is popped, there's that great charm.
Yeah, that charm was huge. Sets up Wiggly to go down there. The flash too late. easy follow-up from Fox, and you got to wonder what Big Gods Jackals are really doing there. It is hard for them to win a 2v2 kind of in the open like that, and both teams had vision of each other, so they knew what they were kind of getting into there. Gilius and Fox pull the trigger and execute that play. And that's kind of that aggression that Big Gods Jackals were talking about. You know, they just generally play aggressive. We saw the flash trade coming in from Fox earlier on that made sure that Peek and Wolf didn't have that available to play more defensively after that. And Ari has mobility for days, assuming your ultimate's up. So she's fine trading a flash for flash because she will have movement abilities available again in about a minute or two once that ultimate comes off cooldown.
Well, eUnited keeps up the aggression. Big Gods Jackals aggressed a little bit differently by taking the first dragon of the game. The Elemental Mountain Drake went in their favor, but now it's going to be Licorice getting a little bit pushy against RF Legendary here. Is going to have to pop the scrap shield and run away. There's no equalizer available quite yet. Licorice is, however, going to be getting collapsed on here as Peek and Wolf actually runs right through him and deciding just to dissuade him from coming in rather than really turning it around, as he did have Gilius coming from the backside.
Yeah, they were aware that there was a extra man coming. It was not going to be a 2v1. It was going to be a 2v2. And with the fact that Gilius has 2 assists, he's a decently strong Rengar, and RF Legendary was already chunked out by Licorice. They did not want to take that. Does mean they have to concede the top side a little bit. Gilius able to steal away the red buff. More good counter jungling coming in from him. He did have that early blue buff steal as well. Now he and Fox are comboing together to seal away even more camps.
Yep, and Fox is kind of playing bodyguard duty here, as we did see that Wiggly was on the top side of jungle as well, but did have to put a little bit of his attention into the top side to make sure RF Legendary is going to be A-okay, and it did open up the rest of that top side jungle for Gilius and Fox to just invade and steal. Peek and Wolf, of course, did wind up running through that little gank skirmish attempt in the top lane and wound up going back and recalling to pick up some very early magic resistance. Not only has he gone for the Negatron cloak on one of his earlier backs, but goes back here and picks up the Merc treads as well. So tenacity, more magic resistance, a lot of focus on this matchup against Ari.
Right, and now we see Gilius opening up and just blowing up Wiggly in the 1v1 in the jungle. Doesn't have to use anything really to get that one done. And now Big Gods Jackals in a very rough spot. Their jungler has just gone down. Peek and Wolf getting jumped on as well.
Does wind up dodging out from the charm though. The ignite did wind up being blown there, so that's going to be a lot done on Peek and Wolf. Not going to be able to pick up the kill. Meanwhile, RF Legendary continuing to trade in this top side against Licorice. His equalizer is not available. Use that one just to clear out a bunch of minions, so Licorice knows he can take these trades.
Yeah, I gotta criticize eUnited a little bit here for being a little too tunneled on the mid lane aggression. Oh, the flash charm out of Fox and miss once again. Peek and Wolf is just fine. With all this pressure that they have in the mid jungle, I don't know why they're not pressuring around the bot lane a little bit more. They have the teleport advantage for just a little bit longer. After they killed Wiggly, it would have been pretty easy to rotate down through the bot jungle and get a teleport flank off onto the bot lane of Big Gods Jackals and continue trying to snowball. A little too focused on trying to blow up their individual matchups.
Yeah, so a little bit more of a lane-focused and dominant style coming out from eUnited, but although it is a little bit of a different style from what we've seen them play, it has net them advantages so far. 3,000 gold lead off the back of the fact that they've gotten first blood, they've gotten first tower, they have a 2-kill advantage right now. The CS totals are going in their favor pretty much in every single lane. And here's that teleport play that you were talking about before, Mark. Licorice going to dash forward, there's a slice, but no dice, and he has to walk away.
Don't you dare say that was the teleport play I was talking about. That was a bad teleport play.
That was a teleport play that you envisioned, but not the way you would have executed
that's not how I envisioned it either. I envisioned killing the jungler, wrapping behind, getting a TP from behind, cutting off the escape, not teleporting right in front of their face, Tom.
Well, eUnited maybe being a little less united than we gave him credit for just a couple of seconds ago.
But you have to give him credit for trying, right? This is a team that we see will pull the trigger and look for plays, something we were critical of Gold Coin United for being. And overall, I'd rather see them forcing plays with that teleport advantage than just sitting on it and doing nothing.
And that's actually one of the very rare cases where we see Licorice and his teleport play not resulting in some sort of kill or advantage gain from the side of eUnited. So Big Gods Jackals hanging in there. That bottom lane tower still has yet to fall. That top lane tower has taken a bit of damage. You can see on the mini-map a little bit of a darker shade of red than some of the other ones up there. There's basically close to dead, as Licorice and Fox seem to have switched up lane assignments, at least for the time being. Licorice had gone back to base after that teleport, picked up his Black Cleaver in addition to a Hex Drinker. Fox, in the meantime, has completed his entire Abyssal Scepter and a pair of Sorcerer's Shoes, has an additional Blasting Wand in his inventory. Whereas on the flip side, not quite a completed item for his mid lane opponent and Peek and Wolf. The same exact thing for RF Legendary on the top side. Went and got that Seeker's Arm Guard for the 1v1 against Licorice, then has stopped and looks like he might be going for the Leandry's Torment.
very interesting to see eUnited electing to kind of, like you said, flip their soul laners, given the defensive itemization of their opponents. That said, Renekton not known as the best mid laner, though we have heard of
the Lizard Wizard?
The Lizard Wizard before, but now we see Big God Jackals pressuring around this bot lane. Peekawolf able to get the push advantage, of course, against the Renekton, as Fox was grabbing his blue buff during that time, and they get a good chunk of damage down this bot turret. Good to see Big God Jackals not afraid to start moving around the map despite the deficit that they are at, sitting at around 3,000 gold.
Well, Licorice going to slice in, still has the dice available. He's going to use the dash out after the tether goes down from Karma, but eUnited has kind of split their team between the EU top side and the United bottom side, as Fox and Gilius are on this top side of the map pushing down that low HP tower. Fox actually going to burn the flash away from RF Legendary just for using the Spirit Rest, the Charm, dealing a decent amount of damage.
Right, we see RF Legendary forced to back away from the turret. This signals Big God Jackals to maybe go down the bot lane. They have the Sivir ult and the Talia ult cutting off the escape at eUnited, but it looks like they're finding a hard time finding an opening here.
And by the time they go in, the wall's already down, and Peekawolf takes a large chunk of damage there from Licorice. He slices and dices and just cuts him into little tiny pieces. Bayana's gonna have to wind up popping this shield, but a flash away from Licorice. That's going to be a double kill picked up for this for Nexton. Fabi underneath the tower, a triple kill for Licorice. How's that for him as he plays that champion?
I mean, that's a pretty good 3v3 right there. They're able to get the 3 kills for 0. You see the power of a Soraka and a tank just able to keep healing up their Renekton. It goes in over and over. Gilius wants to get involved as well, gets aggressive up on the top side, getting a little low.
He's got the Soraka wish, however, but it's not going to be quite enough to take down any kills up here, although it does continue to pressure down that top lane tower, and eUnited once again up in the aggression, up in the ante, taking down towers across the map, giving themselves yet another 6,000 gold advantage over Big Gods Jackals.
Seems like these games always just explode as soon as eUnited find that first opening. As soon as they win that 2v2 around the mid lane, they're able to grab the turret. They're able to continue forcing around mid and top. They've now grabbed 4 in the game so far, and Fox basically ulting as soon as that stuff's off cooldown. He wants to press some buttons.
Yeah, I guess Fox continuing to be aggressive. He heard it. Maybe he heard Fabi talking about how aggressive he likes to play. And he's like, you know what?
You think
like
you've seen aggressive?
I was born in it, molded by it. One movie I have seen is Gilius getting a little bit too aggressive for himself, has to kind of flash and dash himself out of that one. But Fox coming in from the top side, doesn't have the Spirit Rush available, does have a Charm and Orbit Deception, neither of which will land. Still zoning Big Gods away from chasing after his low HP jungler.
All right, looks like eUnited gonna choose to reset a little bit now after Gilius got chunked out. We see Fox recalling there. They have put their bot lane to the mid lane. eUnited starting up this 1-3-1 that they love so much. Dragon's still on the table. A little surprising not to have seen that focused yet, as we'll take another look at that 3v3 that happened in the bot lane.
Yeah, and this is Big Gods Jackals looking like they wanted to pull the trigger. The Sivir on the hunt gets popped a little bit defensively there as the dash came in from Licorice. By the time that Big Gods Jackals, they push up the minions, the Talia wall falls.
Right, you see a big misposition there by Peekawolf. He walks in, gets silenced, and it looks like he was trying to cast a spell but couldn't actually cast it due to the silence. He kept walking forward into range of Licorice, who was able to open up onto him. And now we see the power of Renekton with the heals coming in from his bot lane, allowing him to tank up that turret and finish off Fabi for the triple kill.
So Licorice now getting 3-0 on his scoreline. Has a fully completed Maul of the Malmortius, and just look at how much slicing and dicing that Renekton can do. 2,700 damage all by himself, eclipsing that of the Ezreal, who was still landing a decent amount of poke in this fight, but that's going to be a massive, massive Renekton to have to try to deal with. They thought that RF Legendary was doing a good job keeping him under control, but then something like that happens.
Yeah, it's always very annoying when you're the supposedly counter-picked top laner doing a great job, and then your team makes a mistake, and next thing you know, a 3-0 Renekton staring across the lane across from you out of nowhere.
You know, RF Legendary made the first move by utilizing his teleport down there to help out his bottom lane and pick up a kill for them, but Licorice says, I can do 3 better. So he's actually going to be caught up here. Dashes over the wall. He's going to have to pop the Dominance to survive, but he will get himself.
Yep, that's buying time for his team to grab this first Mountain Drake of the game, 20 minutes in. eUnited were heavily focusing more on kills this game than objectives, but they do grab their first dragon here, going to help them snowball down these neutral objectives and Baron, should they decide to look at it. It was around this time last game that they grabbed the Baron buff and really turned that game on its head.
Don't know if it's going to be the same thing this time around, as the map pressure is not nearly as dominant. Although RF Legendary is going to wind up walking into a brush and finds a wild Renekton right there. A slice, still has the dice. Is he going to want to get the stun down here? The equalizer goes out. RF Legendary, the slow is going to wind up triggering. The proc from the Maul of Malmortius will
Renekton's coming in.
Oh,
Rengar, excuse me.
Popped. And this looks like it's going to be Gilius. Going to be able to clean this kill up. At the same exact time, with Gilius away in the top lane, Big Gods Jackals pulls the trigger in the mid lane. They're trying to jump on the Deathly, flashes away, but he does wind up going down. So Big Gods Jackals able to turn a kill in the mid lane while the top side was distracted. Fox getting super aggressive, wants to pick up a kill on the Fabi, is not going to be able to do so. A double kill given to Peckinwood.
There you see Big God Jackals able to turn some of the aggression back onto eUnited. Gilius has to go up in the top lane to finish off that kill for Licorice. That means that there's only 3 men together in the mid lane. That tells Big God Jackals they can open up on them there. And then Fox, instead of getting away, desperately tries to trade 1 for 1. Is unable to do so, resulting in a 2 for 0 in the mid lane of Big God Jackals.
A little too aggressive there by Fox that time around, as Gilius gonna try to dissuade Big God Jackals from transitioning those advantages and kills in the mid lane into any sort of objectives by keeping his tower alive.
We'll take another look at that mid lane play. You see definitely pushed up kind of far, given the fact that they know Renekton and Rengar up in the top side. Talk about those go buttons available for Big God Jackals. The Talia wall gets him in range, as well as the Sivir ultimate. They're able to finish off deftly. And then Fox, not wanting to retreat into the bot side jungle, goes aggressive onto Fabi, tries to flash, gets the pull through of the Q back through due to that flash, but it's not enough to finish him off, as we see a little bit of Warlord's healing there, keeping Fabi topped off.
He also wound up using the Summoner heal to keep himself healthy, but now we see a repeat of what just happened in the top lane. On the bottom side of the map, it's ARF Legendary taking chunks of HP from Licorice here. He's going to wind up culling the Meek. He's going to wind up slicing and dicing, and that's going to be a rampage for Renekton.
Oh, that feels bad. Like I was just saying, he was doing fine in the matchup before. All of a sudden, the 3-0 Renekton is against him, and now in these long lanes, he's constantly getting opened up by Licorice. This time able to pick up the solo kill. Doesn't need Gilius' help this time around.
Yeah, so Big Gods Jackals, though they thought they were able to get something back in the mid lane here, wound up giving away a kill on the bottom side, so that's going to be split push Licorice in the bottom. Is now Wiggly going to have to jump in and jump out as he takes a large chunk of damage from eUnited, now continuing to exert pressure on the map. Fox on the top side, Licorice on the bottom side. The core members of 3 in the mid lane, they're controlling vision on their opponent's side of the map, forcing them to make mistakes and face checks just like that.
Yeah, they've been doing a really good job controlling this topside vision now. Basically only 1 ward available for them. It is going to spot this, though.
Ward did just wind up dying. Oh, that one right there sees him. The bottom side of the map, though, because no one was able to respond to Licorice till ARF Legendary responds. He wants to get in the tower. It's Gilius, though, going to get jumped on because they did wind up seeing that Rengar, although Fox taking a large chunk of damage from Peckinwood as well. It's going to wind up being the throw of the hunt being popped for Gilius to kind of retreat away from this one. And eUnited going to continue using the split push Renekton threat to kind of push and pull Big Gods Jackals across the map. They do have Biano and ARF Legendary down there, but that just means that Fox could return to top lane because no one's up there to match him.
Yeah, eUnited getting very aggressive in the topside jungle. Not actually able to pick up a kill or anything, but they're sitting at about an 8,000 gold lead. They don't need to have every opening turn into actual kills, though, as they continue to pressure around the mid lane.
Well, 1 minute from now would have been the time that they wound up ending the game in game number 1. This time around, it looks like it might be a little bit longer of a match, but eUnited still, as you mentioned, solidly in the driver's seat from this one, with Fox now rotating up from that top lane and Licorice from the bottom lane. It's going to be the mid lane tower falling. The last remaining outer tower on the map for Big Gods Jackals is... Uh-oh. eUnited.
Setting up that little death rush, hoping Big God Jackals face check that. Instead, they're going to look for Licorice down the mid lane. But this is going to expose their flank to the rest of the team.
Well, the Talia wall is there to cut them off, but it's not quite long enough to cover out the backside. Definitely going to pick the first kill out, and they do wind up losing Licorice, however. But now it's going to be Gilius trying, gets in the brush, leaps forward on the pick and move, but it's going to be Fabi catching a Mystic shot there. A double kill picked up for Deathly. Fox going to charm the wrong way, but a flash forward from Gilius will be the shutdown onto Peckinwood's Talia. Now Deathly going a little bit too far forward with not enough mana. Overall, it's going to wind up being a successful trade for eUnited.
Yeah, despite grouping up in the mid lane and finishing off that last inner turret, they decide to hover around, try and get one more pick off. Big God Jackals want to punish Licorice for sticking around the mid lane. They open up onto him, but he is a fairly tanky crocodile and also has a Soraka to try and keep him alive. Was able to stay up long enough for the rest of the team to collapse and pick up a handful of kills, and now they're trying to open up onto this Baron. No one in range to contest is going to be able to grab this one as well.
Not super healthy, but Zeyzal going to actually go down to the Baron aura, dropping a little bit too low while trying to keep his team alive, and Execute goes across, but it's still going to be 4 Barons.
Man, what a team player, willing to die to secure that Baron, even though he probably didn't need to. Anyways, we'll take a look at this replay.
Yeah, so this is the fight here where Big Gods Jackals thinks that the rest of eUnited has kind of gone back and that Licorice is staying around a little bit too long, but all of a sudden, surprise, they're behind you.
Yeah, I mean, that was a nice play by eUnited. Sure, they're trying to bait the face check instead it baits a fight. Big God Jackals think Licorice is being greedy, hovering around the mid lane. His team is actually still in range. And you get to see the collapse come in, definitely with a nice snipe to finish off Fabi there. And then Fox plays this pretty well. I do like throwing that Spirit Orb backwards to get a longer speed up, help him get in range of Peek and Woof. Nice job shoving him away, but Gilius was still around to finish him off.
Yep, and off the back of that, EUnited, a couple minutes slower than game number 1, get themselves a Baron as Fox going to continue to play aggressive. United down to Wiggly, does get the Karma Shield. Fox has to flash away from this one. The teleport's being channeled in by Licorice. They are going to have to run away here from the side of Big Gods Jackals. It's actually just Fox and Licorice in here right now. The rest of the team is yet to group up, but this duo here of solo laners now joined by Gilius, just forcing Big Gods Jackals back into their own base. They don't even have their bottom lane here to do this, shoving all the way in on this mid lane inhibitor tower, and that one's going to go down as the rest of the team and the Baron buff minions speed up. A slice and dice forward gets a stun onto Bayano, and it's going to be Gilius and Licorice continuing to force back the members of Big Gods Jackals. The inhibitor has been left exposed. Wiggly's going to get charmed up and taken down by Renekton. They're trying to turn some damage on the Licorice, but now Deathly's joined the fray, and he's forcing Fabi away. The inhibitor is going to wind up falling. Unrelenting aggression from EUnited, brute force down the mid lane.
They only know one direction, that's forward. Gilius and Fox, as well as definitely getting involved in the action now, constantly looking for aggression. Fox basically took a 1v4 there to start that fight off, and then the entire team has that kind of mindset. You see Licorice diving in, trying to get the kill. After that, Gilius' turn, definitely also getting involved, as we said, at the end of that fight. And now, I mean, they still have buttons to press. They use the Rengar ultimate.
Oh, Gilius is going in past double. Nexus Towers has no heed for his own life as Fox dashes in. Then he's going to pick up another kill on the RF Legendary. And although it's only a couple minutes slower, another massive, massive lead. Massively one-sided game from EUnited, 14 kills to 4. They're going to clean up the Nexus after a couple more style kills on the Summoner platform, but they're going to take another convincing game number 2.
Right, I mean, this is another sub-30-minute game, another 10K plus gold advantage that early into the game. Very, very aggressive. Once again, you see that this team does not like to back away. If they think they can get more, they're going to look to try and get it, and they end up taking that whole game.
Yeah, and that was Big Gods Jackals. We thought they had a better way to approach the game. We thought that they were potentially going to be playing a little bit more through their bottom lane. RF Legendary, once again, actually had some advantages in top lane and had the first proactive teleport play of the game. But EUnited, once again, like once they kind of just hit this certain point in the mid lane, it was kind of like, oh, it's like this specific time in the game, or like this thing has fallen into place. We're going to turn the switch on and just immediately take over.
Yeah, I think the big thing is that 2v2 mid again. We talk about the fact that we want to see Big God Jackals avoiding 2v2 mids. They end up getting into another one. It's not really what they were looking to do. They just want to get a little bit of vision control. But with a Rengar and Ahri having their ultimates available, it's very easy for them to hop onto you. So if you're just in that river, you're going to get opened up. And that was really the first play that blew the game open for EUnited. They were able to grab that mid lane turret. They weren't the cleanest in terms of spreading that pressure around the rest of the map to the side lanes, but you can tell that unlike Goldcoin United, EUnited wants to keep pressing forward, and that's what they did over and over.
One of the things they also did was they kind of switched up their lane assignments once that mid lane tower wound up falling down. Even though they had itemization against the magic damage coming out from Fox in the mid lane on his Ahri, because they were 2 magic damage threats on the side of Big Gods Jackals, they could just switch up the Renekton, switch up the Ahri to go for the split push, and when Renekton was on the bottom side of the map, even though Licorice was kind of losing out in the lane, it didn't necessarily have the same kind of teleport advantage, they transitioned it into an advantage just because Licorice still was a massive early game Renekton at that point.
Right, and then despite the kind of swapping the lanes, the big play for Licorice was the triple kill that he got in the bot lane, when it was kind of a tri-lane kind of going on here, where we see the mid laner and top laner assisting the bot lanes. Licorice got a little bit aggressive onto Fabi. That baited out some ultimates from Big God Jackal. You see Peek and Woof just walk way too far forward there while silenced. He's going to be opened up by Licorice, and this is an easy chase down for the rest of the way.
Man, this is just EUnited once again continuing to be aggressive, not afraid to flash forward, especially off the back of this Soraka pickup too. If you see here, Licorice taking multiple tower shots, taking multiple Sivir attacks, and just never in danger of going down whatsoever because of the amount of heals that he was just getting.
Yeah, and after that triple kill, we see that he starts getting mashed up against RF Legendary again. They're done with the kind of weird lane swaps, and then with those 3 kills, despite the fact that RF Legendary was doing a fine job in a matchup that does not go in Rumble's favor, I mean, it kind of goes in Renekton's favor after a triple kill.
Yeah, and especially because of that triple kill, because of the pressure he had on RF Legendary, when Big Gods Jackals thought he was exposed in the mid lane, they immediately collapse on him, thinking that he's out of position, but what it results in is EUnited collapsing and springing their trap and being able to take a Baron off the back of that.
Right, I mean, that was kind of the back-breaking moment, was that 3-for-1, 24.5 minutes into the game. EUnited had just grouped up and taken the mid lane turret. Big God Jackals think Licorice is just being a little greedy, trying to farm out one more minion wave. What they don't realize is that the entirety of EUnited was trying to bait a base check in the top jungle. So despite Big Gods Jackals being able to jump on the Licorice and finish him off quickly, definitely does a good job here, getting in range, able to snipe out Fabi with that last Q, pick him off. Very scrappy fight overall. Fox gets in range. Gilius staying in the fight at extremely low health. They're able to finish off Talia there. And then after that, they turn onto the Baron. They grab that one. And that's pretty much all she wrote.
Yeah, so eUnited once again transitioning the mid and jungle synergy into advantages across different parts of the map, continuing to exert that pressure, not being afraid to kind of let up on it. And I have to say that one of the things that's kind of being a little, not necessarily uncredited, because we have been saying that Zeyzal's been doing a really great job, specifically in the 2v2 matchup on the bottom side, staying toe-to-toe with Fabi and Bayano down there. But the Soraka pickup is such a huge enabler for multiple plays all over the map. The Wish coming in to heal up Licorice on top side while they were diving in with Gilius while the fight was going on the bottom side. And just the fact that he's able to stay alive in all these fights and continue to heal up these carries in pivotal moments, it's fueling that aggression.
Right, I think that's the big thing is we see that eUnited does not like backing away from a situation if they think they can get more. And Soraka is the perfect pick for that because you get to make an aggressive move. It doesn't quite work out. Heal them up a little bit, look again right away, don't go back into base, don't let up on the pressure, and then you can tell that Big Gods Jackals is not used to playing with this kind of constant fighting, quite the way eUnited feels very comfortable doing so.
Yeah, we even saw that when RF Legendary had teleported down to the bottom side and then utilized his equalizer down there, goes back up to the top side, and Licorice just immediately jumps on him when he's roaming up into his lane and continues to just fight him out. That forces Peekaboo to roam up, forces Peekaboo to burn his ghost, forces a lot of things out of them, and then they don't have those available for the next time that eUnited wants to fight, which was like a couple minutes later in the red buff area.
Yeah, and I think you have to look at Peekaboo and the jungler. They're not moving together well at all. I mean, they got opened up initially in that 2v2 in the mid lane. Peekaboo makes that weird attempt in the bot lane, that 3v3 standoff with the top and mid there, and he walks on top of the Soraka silence and is unable to actually get in and do anything. So he's definitely struggling in the series. He's doing fine in terms of individual laning, but when it comes to playmaking and setting up 2v2 skirmishes, he's really getting outplayed.
He's definitely at a disadvantage against Fox in the lane pressure that Fox is able to exert on some of these picks as well. We see a lot of target pick and ban phase going around these two mid lane matchups, and Big Gods, Big Gods Jackals talking about coming into the series against eUnited. Pickenwolf himself said, like, this is something we need to focus on. We need to get me into an advantageous matchup. They tried doing it twice in a row. Maybe the Talia is not as advantageous into the Arya as they want it to be, but definitely has shove advantage. He still hasn't been able to shove that lane out and make something happen elsewhere.
Yeah, and a lot of that was due to the fact that they were getting caught up in these kind of vision battles. One of the things about Talia is you can kind of circumvent the vision because you're able to make the roam so fast that even if they do see you coming, if they're not in position to back off already, you can just kind of go flying past that ward and actually still get in range to make the play.
All right, well, we're headed to a commercial break, but when we return, we'll see if eUnited close out and advance to the finals, or if it's going to be Big Gods Jackals trying to strike back and keep their playoff hopes alive. For it here, the middle, the Hunter's gonna pop, the charm is not gonna, actually does land on Wiggly as he tries to jump away. He's gonna drop extremely low, and First Blood picked up once again for Fox on the Fox. A double kill make that as the 2v2. The time they can win, the wall's already down, and Pickamore takes a large chunk of damage there from Licorice. He slices and dices and just cuts him into little tiny pieces. Bayana's gonna have to wind up popping this shield, but a flash away from Licorice. That's going to be a double kill picked up for this for Nexus. Fabi underneath the tower, a triple kill for Licorice. Fox getting super aggressive, wants to pick up a kill on the Fabi, is not going to be able to do so. A double kill given to Peckinwolf. Gilius trying, gets in the brush, leaps forward onto Pickinwolf, but it's going to be Fabi catching a Mystic shot there. A double kill picked up for Deathly. Fox going to charm the wrong way, but a flash forward from Gilius will be the shutdown onto Pickinwolf's Talia. Another massive lead. One-sided game from eUnited.